Hello and welcome to the Final Bell, the official Geelong Cats podcast. It is great to have you with us again for this week on the eve of finals. I know we've got to take a breath and just somehow get through the pre-finals bye. We get to watch some AFLW, so don't worry, there'll be footy on this weekend. We've all just got to hold our horses until the finals start. Cats taking on the Pies in the qualifying final. Each week we are brought to you by Lake Imaging, and big thank you to them. Lake Imaging is celebrating 20 years of radiology services in Victoria. Lake Imaging are proud to be the preferred medical imaging provider of our beloved Cats at the Geelong Football Club. Scotty Gullen is still claiming that he is on Commonwealth Games duties in Birmingham, still writing his articles, just an absolute pro. He wants to get every one of those words right. Mind you, I think he was last spotted on one of the Greek islands, shirt off, just wandering around the beaches there. So Scotty's not with us, but that means, I think it's by popular demand anyway, because our listeners love having Tommy Lonergan on the podcast. Domsy, great to see you again.
G'day, Lingy. Yeah, great to be back. I'm waiting for that video to pop up in an Ibiza nightclub. Scotty just in the mosh pit somewhere enjoying himself, but we'll
just
see him
picture
again
that
soon,
one, can you?
Oh, wow.
Shirt off. No, thanks,
let's
Scotland.
Leave that for another day. Yep, good to be here, mate.
Hey, exciting news. Yeah. A little bit later on, we're going to be joined by the coach, Chris Scott. There is an open training session happening right now as we're recording this. The players are out there going through their paces, doing what you'd probably call more of a craft session. Lots and lots of people in the stands. I think a heap more turned up than was expected. I'm sure the players will get over to the boundary and sign a heap of autographs, but Scotty's going to wander up, Domsy.
Yeah, great. And best seats in the house too, Troy. We'll get this room booked again. We're looking straight out the windows and we can see what's happening. Jez is just jogging a couple of laps at the moment, but good to see him out and about.
With all the work that you're doing at the Geelong Falcons and basically running football right across the Geelong southwestern region, it's fair to say, you've got more sway here at the Cats than what I do. So going into the future, I think this little setup that we're in right now, the suite with a couple of seats out the front, may need to become somewhat of a past players type room. Area, maybe just a permanent 2011 reunion area.
Something like that will be fine. Yep.
Good. We'll, can you get to work on that
maybe
one for me?
Maybe we ask Scotty when he comes in a bit later and he might have a bit more pull than both of us, I'd say.
Excellent. We will get to your questions as well, as we always try and do. Let's get quickly to the game. I don't want to brush over it because it was a good solid hit out ahead of finals, but I do want to cast my eyes ahead to Collingwood and also maybe a little bit to what would be happening this week with the week off, the bye week before the finals. And I don't mind, Domsy, if you want, you can ask me a couple of questions around the All-Australian squad and team and all of that sort of fun stuff. But the Cats taking care of West Coast very, very comfortably, but the exact sort of hit out that you'd hoped for, where it wasn't scrappy, ugly, they, queue in the rack, they just won by 15 or 20 points in a pretty almost Porsche. It was sharp. Yep. Game was done early. 6-3 first quarter. Then 12-4 at half time. They came out ready to play and to put in a really good quality performance ahead of that break and then the finals.
Well, comprehensive again, much like last week, wasn't it, Lingy? And that's what you want when you're playing these lower-ranked teams. You don't want, as you mentioned before, you don't want them just to get by, get through the game, sort of a bit of, like they have playing bruise-free football in a sense, do you? So great to see. I'll look at that, that scoreline, 19 goals, 17, 130. Well, that's huge. That shows me that they're playing a brand of football that doesn't matter what the scoreboard reflecting. They're just going to keep on fine-tuning this attacking brand of football that they've been playing across the season. So, again, great to see a great spread of goal kickers. Hall kicked 4, Stengel 4. Interesting one for All-Australian there. Ling will touch on shortly. Guthrie, Rowan, Selwood, all twos. Great spread of goal kickers, which is holding him in great stead.
My only little knock was Hawkey could have kicked 10.
You could have.
Just having shots galore. Could have won the Coleman, but doesn't matter. He was terrific. Stengel was terrific again. I don't mind you asking whatever you want to ask. Only little concerns, Jake Kolodjasny with the concussion, but given the week off and the protocols, he'll be fine to go. Cam Guthrie sore shoulder. I think it was Paddy Dangerfield gave him that little one, but knowing Guthers, he will be completely fine. Sam Menegola also came out of the team late, replaced by big Johnny Segler. We're not necessarily going to touch on this with Scotty because I don't want to grill him on selection so far out from the game because they will have another 5 match committee meetings between now and the Collingwood game. So we won't go into too much with him, but they will have a big debate around what this team looks like because good luck fitting, I reckon, 27 worthy players who've put their hand up and said, I'm ready if you need me. Somehow they've got to turn that into 22 starters plus the medical sub with the 23rd. It's going to be a tough team to pick heading into Collingwood.
Jonathan Segler, he gives the coaches something to think about, doesn't he? I mean, what do you have? 24 disposals and 10 clearances as a ruckman.
That's
huge. I know they were playing against West Coast, who had nothing to show for, but that's I think that's where a lot of those discussions will be central around is what they do with the ruck. What are your thoughts there, Ling?
Yeah, well, I think Reece Stanley's proven over the course of the year that he deserves the shot. I love what Johnny Segler's doing. So he's had 2 opportunities and he's gone, I am here and I am ready for you if you need me. If you choose to go a different type of ruckman or if Reece does get hurt, I'm ready. And that's when we always say, I know people laugh, they say it's a cliche, but squads win premierships as well. So the ability for Johnny Segler, he may not play a single final and he might still be a crucial part of the Cats winning a premiership because he's there and he's ready if needed. Well, he may play 3 finals and play a huge role, but the fact that he's put his hand up ready to go, that's important.
Well, we saw it through that era we had from 07 through to 11 and beyond, is there's always very, very good players that miss out, aren't there? So it looks as though that's going to be the same case with the Cats come selection.
Well, Jeremy Cameron, more than likely, I don't want to jinx it, but more than likely will be right to go. Reece Stanley, you'd imagine, is right to go. Mitch Duncan, who also missed on the weekend, will be right to go. We've just said Colin Jasny should be fine. Cam Guthrie should be fine. Sam Menegola should be fine after being a late withdrawal. You try picking a team out of that times. I don't want to have to do it. And in the VFL as well, the good thing was that with it finishing the year on a real positive and winning against Port Melbourne was form of other players who've had opportunities throughout this year. Cooper Stevens found the ball 30 times. Ollie Dempsey, 28 disposals, 13 marks. I mean, the fact that those young guys have had a taste of senior football throughout the season, now they might, again, probably not feature in the finals in the ones, but they're sitting there going, hey, you know what? If it ever came down, if we had this little horror stretch of injuries, we'll be there ready for you. And we've shown it at senior level in our brief taste. So that's important too, that those younger guys are going to find something out of this year. I think Shannon Neal kicked 3 goals as well forward if Jez Cameron happened to not get up for a game. So all of those possibilities really make a strong squad heading into finals.
And furthermore, it gives, the next 3 to 4 weeks will give those players education on what it takes to win these big finals, to play well in these big games. They're going to sit in the preview meetings where they preview the opposition. They talk about the strategy that needs to be implemented to win a big final. They're going to sit in the review, hopefully a couple of them, after a win or a loss, and they're going to understand what it takes to get it done at the pointy end of the season, which is going to be huge for their development.
Absolutely. I want to get to some questions. I want to get to make sure we're right to go when Chris Scott comes in and comes in off the training track. Domsy, as we look around the league, obviously Thursday night final will be Brisbane taking on Richmond. Friday night Melbourne versus Sydney. The 4:35 Saturday game is the Cats and the Pies, and then the Saturday night game is Fremantle versus the Bulldogs. So a huge first weekend of finals. Right now, and I know this isn't proper live podcasting, when is this likely to be released, Ro? Just give us a ballpark. Today. Okay, so if it's today, the All-Australian team is going to be announced tonight. Yes. So you're not going to get any definite answers off me, but the 44 has been released. 5 Cats featuring in that 44, 6 Demons, the Cats and the Demons dominating that All-Australian squad. The floor is yours, Tom.
Well,
what would you like to say? Give me some of that gentle feedback you've always given me over the years.
Well, the word around AFL circles, and I'm employed by the AFL, and I jump in the head office from time to time, and I see the selectors come in there, and you've got Buckley and Rewalt and Gerald Healy, and then the big red man sort of struts his way in, and the word, got Kane Corns as well, the word around those circles is that Mr. Ling over here absolutely had his way with his side. No. He absolutely said, this player has to be in and give me a good valid reason. And you took him to the cleanse. Every argument you just batted off and you said, no, he's in, not... And then Gil McLaughlin just gave you that. At the end of it said, congratulations, Cameron, this is your team. So
none of the above. No.
Come on.
There was no banging of the desk. There's calm listening and, considered argument. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Well, listening and working together to come to a solution.
I don't know if that's in your nature. Now, the two ones I wanted to know... I'm interested in because they've both had unbelievable seasons, and maybe you can fit them all in. We've got two key forwards. We'll go through them all shortly. But Hawk Cameron, we know Charlie Curnow won the Coleman. Is there room for three big tools, do you think?
Three key forwards.
Three key forwards. Is there room?
Well, you could throw in Tom Lynch into that discussion
Lynch has
as well.
been unbelievable. So
massive influence. Yeah. I would say you probably can't fit four.
Okay.
Key forwards in, but I think with the way each of those play with their own strengths and that, there's an ability to find probably three spots there. Yep. I'm not going to let you know who they are, Domsy, but given the years that each of those key forwards have had, they all make a really strong case. You're comfortable with the fact that Hawke and Jez should have been in the 44?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable on that. Very, very comfortable. But it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because there's certain locks in that team, no doubt. We know Lockie Neal would be a lock, Clayton Oliver would be a lock. But then you've got four key forwards who've all had outstanding seasons in the players we've just mentioned. But you can't fit them all in, I suppose.
No, and it's a really enjoyable meeting. It's a long meeting to be a part of. It really is. And you're right. So you get a couple again, I can't say names, but they're not bad guesses, those ones. You can just kind of put names up and everyone in the room goes, yep, got him. Yeah, then so the name goes up. So call that 8 players, maybe 10 are pretty much unanimous. Everybody's like, yep, that player's up there. Move on. Yep. Then there's 5 names, which would make it say, up to 15. So 5 names who are basically unanimous, bit of a discussion. Well, where do they play? Bit of debate, but yep, we all agree. So there you go. You got 15 names up there. What you're left with is 7 names. And those 7 names could take a long time. But the great blend of the room is I work predominantly Friday nights and I work predominantly Sunday afternoons with Channel 7, the odd Saturday night game with 7. So I get a lot of the free-to-air games. Now, certain teams play more free-to-air games than other teams. So you watch them live. I watch plenty of footy at home on TV. But I might go 6 weeks without seeing a team. But then somebody else in the room has watched that team every single week for 10 weeks straight. And they have a greater appreciation of a certain player. So you do have to go in with a bit of an open mind and say, okay, well, listen, I didn't watch that player the last 8 weeks of the season other than flicking through their games as a bit of research, but I never sat and just watched and enjoyed their game live at the time. So tell me, why were they so good? What did they do really well? Were they playing on a C-grade opponent every week, or were they playing on the A-grade opponent every single week? So they're the sort of conversations that go into those last 7 players, Domsy, and that's where you get the real back and forth. And sometimes selectors have got their 1 or 2. They Favorites. Do dig their heels in strongly and no budging, no matter what. That would never be me, though, Tom.
Okay, I think there might be a couple of Cats players that might be in your... All right, well, let's go. We were speaking about Jezza and Tommy. Stewie's missed the 4 games down back, but he's...
Do you reckon that should count against him?
I don't see another sort of half backer that's been as influential as he has down back. Now I obviously haven't watched all 18 teams, but he's allotted games, which how many did he play in the end, Cameron?
I reckon he played 17 in the end. I reckon he might have missed one other than the 4 suspended games, at a guess. But, I mean, when you play 17, just basically best on ground games.
On grounds. Oh, I think he gets in. Now, and the other two, I can't see how they don't get in, and this is only my personal view. I think Stengel's been absolutely elite. You probably look at Cameron from Brisbane against him and what their stats look like. But, seeing him firsthand, he does some things that I was sitting with Stephen Wells recently watching the footy, and I think he might have said he's got a bit of Ablett Junior about some of the things he does when he's in his forward half. And he does. He's got that. He's ground level. He can jump up. He can take a high mark. He's just got something special about him, hasn't he?
He certainly does. He certainly does. I'm going to make this even easier for you then. Rather than just pumping up the 5 players who are in the squad, you're allowed to tell me which of the Cats players should have made the 44.
Should have made the 44. So on top of the 5 already.
Yeah.
Well, I thought, look, and this might have the rose-coloured glasses on, but, I'd be interested, and I haven't looked too much into the stats, but I know Sam DeConning made the under-22 side, but the 44, is he? I know he's only second, third-year player, but I think he's almost in the best key defenders in the competition now, for mine.
That's a really good point. It was discussed long and hard, that one, because I think what you see from DeConning is a player who plays on the best key forward every single week. And I'm keen to hear sort of Chris Scott's take on Sam as well, if we get a chance to ask him that. He's playing on Max King and he's playing on Aaron Norton. He's playing on all these top liners. He hasn't been eased into playing as a defender. So it's a really good point you make. Even the other person he's challenging for the Rising Star with, Nick Dacos, he was discussed at nauseum about how good a year he'd had. Do we put him... All that. So, that's a fair point. I think Sam DeConning was right there. Any others?
This guy...
You can't have 10 Cats in the 44.
I know. But this guy, I think, goes really under the radar for the Cats, or for the competition in that matter. Brad Close, for mine. I know he's left... Maybe a little bit left field, but I just think the impact he's had... I know Stengel's probably taken, the chocolates a little bit more in some of the stuff he's done, but gee, he plays a great role. And if you're picking on pure role player, you talk about pressure. Well, tell me a better pressure forward than him in the competition. He kicks goals. He does exactly what you want as a coach in that position.
That's a fair point, because you're right. Sometimes you get sucked into just stats, how many goals they end up kicking. He still kicked plenty of goals, but his overall contribution of goals, score assists, disposals, pressure, he does not fumble. I don't think... I've now watched the entire season. I'm not sure he's fumbled once, Brad Close. He's just clean, overhead, at ground level. It's a really good point.
And I think sometimes with those players, all as they need is a couple of media commentators to speak about him a bit more, and people tend to kind of... he is really good. He's up there with the best... the best small forwards in the competition. So I'm not sure what you do a bit of both. You are a selector and you're a media commentator, but maybe we just need to pump Brad Close up a little bit more, Lingy.
Well, I'd pump him up because he wears number 45.
Yes.
Scotty carries on that I've never met him before, but it's just ridiculous. Okay, no, they're all fine points, points. We're going to have to take a break. So have you got any other little ones you want to hit me with, or you're okay?
I think you're trying to angle at someone.
You can't get another one in there. I feel like you're being gentle with me. Scotty's way more vicious.
Cameron Guthrie? Wow. How have you left him out?
There we go. Now you found your stride.
If you want to really take this love of our colours here. No, he's been exceptional.
He has been.
What happened there, Ling?
Kicks plenty of goals. What I did find out was I couldn't have a quarter of the 44 made up of Cats players. I tried my hardest, but...
we did finish on top, the game clear.
2 games clear.
Like, surely an extra couple would have been okay.
Don't worry, that came up in the meeting a few times. The Cats were 2 games clear and 14% ahead of second place. Come on. No, okay. Thank you for being gentle on me. We better take a break because we've just got to time it so that Chris Scott's about to come up and join us. I want to get to some questions next. Let's take a 2-second break and we'll be back soon. Welcome back. It is great having you with us on to the final bell. We are brought to you by Lake Imaging. Chris Scott is about to join us soon. I want to get to some questions from our wonderful listeners. But before I do, don't forget the AFLW season kicks off this Sunday at GMHBA Stadium. Watch the Cats and the Tigers in this round one blockbuster matchup. The first bounce is at 4:10 p.m, which of course is fun for the whole family. Great little time slot. Tickets now on sale. Adults $10 and juniors under 18 are free. So let's show Richmond what we're made of. Let's get a really big crowd here at GMHBA Stadium to cheer on the AFLW Cats. Head to geelongcats.com.au for more info. Hopefully we get off to a win there. A little bit, just keep the momentum rolling into the qualifying final and then the round two for the AFLW and just be all smiles around the Geelong footy club.
All reports are they're up and about, the W girls, so it will be good to see how they go in the opening round.
Absolutely. This one, let's get to some questions. What do you got here from Timothy? Who is our Robbie Gray / Jamie Elliott clutch player? That's fair at the moment, Timothy. Jamie Elliott is just Mr. Clutch and Robbie Gray has been his entire career. All right, there's about 18 seconds to go. The ball spills off the pack, picks up 30 metres out on the run, or kick after the siren, whichever one you want to go to. Who do you want the ball to be in the hands of?
It'd be hard to go past Stengel this year, but if we're talking kick after the siren, there's probably two players I'd go with, and the number one is Mitch Duncan.
Oh,
yeah, beautiful set shot,
beautiful kick,
cool as a cucumber. He's got ice in his veins when he's shooting for goal. But Stengel he's going to do something special in this 4-week block of final. You can just sense it, can't you?
And what about Big Hawkey's sitting there listening to this right now, Domsy, going, what, you forget about me? 2012?
A few Joe the Goose's old Hawkey. No, 2011, you mean? Yeah.
Oh, no, the 2012, the Hawks one.
Yeah, of course.
He's like, I kicked it from 72 metres out.
2011, he did probably tear the game apart in the third quarter.
Oh, wow.
Gee whiz. You could probably throw his name in the mix. We won't tell him that.
Lockie asked this one, what's the mentality going into the finals as the minor premiers? It's a good question because all year you're hunting the Melbourne, who are the reigning premiers, and you're trying to build and you're just locking in week after week. In the season you can kind of not just sneak by, but you can clock up some wins without anyone really noticing, and then all of a sudden, oh, hang on, Geelong are a game clear on top, and now they're 2 games clear. But in finals, everybody knows right now, as we speak, let's not beat around the bush, the Cats are the best team in the competition because of their dominant home and away form. But the season starts again.
Yep.
They're going to be hunted. They're going to come at them. Collingwood right now are at the belief of we can beat anyone. Even when we're 4 or 5 goals down in the game, we can still beat them. So teams are going to be coming after Geelong. I've always felt, Domsy, when we were in those situations was the bigger the moment, the crazier, the more that the opposition are going to come at you, the more you actually find this belief in the things that you do really, really well as an individual and you do really, really well as a team. Go back to those fundamental things that make you good, and I think because you're good at them, they make you feel good about the way you go about your footy, and then you get that belief from that, and it almost blocks out all that. Yeah, they're coming at us, but hey, we do this well, and I know I can deliver that each week. You're not asking for the impossible from me here. You're asking for things that I've done time and time again, and I can do it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's things you have done time and time again, whether it's in a game or training. It's just that now it's magnified, isn't it? Everyone's watching, so you have to do those things and get them right, because otherwise they will be talking points on a Monday or Tuesday. So I think the proverbial just tightens a little bit, doesn't it, throughout? Yeah. So it's like you said, though, as soon as you get into a game, get into the rhythm of the game, especially in a big qualifying, prelim, grand final, you hear players talk about that's their happy place. They get in, they know exactly what they need to do. It's all the stuff building up to it. A lot of it is that noise, and they've just got to, like Craig McRae's analogy during the week, you've got to use the windscreen wipers.
Yep.
Control what you control, push all the stuff that you can't control to the side, and keep focusing on your role.
And even you, continuing that analogy, the ability to do that in game. Because 6 minutes into a huge final, you make an absolute mess of some mistake, you cough up a goal, whatever it might be. You've got to be able to wipe that. And you have to go, okay, it's gone. I can't do anything about it. Bang. Back to the next contest, back to the next decision. That's really important.
Yeah.
Thank you for that one, Lockie. This one's from Ben. If you could get any retired cat to torp it from 60 metres, who would it be? Ben. There's no chance that's Ben Graham. Ben Graham asked that.
It's a woofer doing.
That's a big chance that's Ben Graham. If you could get any retired cat to torp it from 60 metres, who would it be?
It's got to be.
It's got to be Benny.
Unless he's a Benny Graham supporter. He'd be right up there. He'd be right up. Josh Hunt would be the other one.
Oh, yes. Nice call.
Yeah, he's...
I wouldn't mind giving it to Rico as well.
Rico. Yeah.
Couldn't maybe... He'd almost kick it on the run, drop punt from 60, Rico.
That's more his go. Yeah, on the boundary, on the angle. Yeah, I think... Yeah, Benny Graham or Josh Hunt.
But the fact that Benny's put one from the City End goal line to the centre circle in his career, it's probably a fair bet. It'll be Benny.
We'll take Benny. If Benny...
Next time you run into him, can you ask if that was him?
No.
Thank you.
Write that down.
Aaron asks, who do you think is going to take the Mr. September title this year like Otto in 07? Ooh. Is this your man Tyson Stengel? Do you reckon he's got that big 07, big final series in him? Is it a?
I think he's just gonna he's gonna step up in the big moments. It just you get the feeling that nothing bothers him. Nothing. He's one of those characters that nothing phases him. Doesn't know how big the occasion is. He's not going to get overwhelmed by it, and I just think he's going to do something special in a prelim or a grand final. Whether down slightly, we just need a big goal. He's the man to do it. So I'm backing him in, but there's plenty of others.
I'm going a little safer here with my choice, and you're gonna have a go at me for just being obvious. But Tommy Stewart for me, he's already one of the best in the comp. But I think he's got a final series where everybody just, even those from other club supporters who refuse to accept just how good he is, they'll sit back at the end of this final series and go, "Oh wow, best defender in the game." I think after the end of this final series.
Played through the V there, Ling. Yeah. No risky shot at all.
This one's from Rahul. Please give Sav another game. He did awesome, and I think he'll be excellent to take Cox out of it. Big Mason Cox. Sav was good down back. And that closing speed where it looked like, I don't know who the West Coast opponent was going to take a simple mark. Sav gets there. He was able to use his athleticism as a defender.
And we spoke about it last week. I mean, the ability for him now to he's already played forward, he's played in the ruck, and now he's adding a key defensive post to his belt. It's 3 parts of the ground. It makes him quite versatile. So it may be something that, we talk about match committee, that they, the Cats or the coaches look at, do we use Sav as a versatile option in case a key forward or a ruck or a Sam DeConing goes down? We can throw him in. Most likely, probably unlikely that's going to happen, but that's certainly a discussion point, I would have thought.
Yeah, if everyone comes back, he probably doesn't play that first game. But again, it's the point we were making earlier. He's there and he's ready and he's shown AFL football on the weekend, I can play a role in this finals if you need me to. Last one here from Caleb. Who goes to Nick Dacos, or do we let him run free and hope he doesn't hurt us? No is the answer to the second part of that question, Caleb, because he will hurt us, because he's a wonderful footballer. He's creative. He gets them going. I'm not talking hard tag or anything over the top crazy here, Domsy, but I would assume a Brad Close, Brian Myers type just has an awareness, a real genuine awareness of him. If he's trying to get free off half back, he's not the one they allow free. Even if it has to be constantly rolling over to him, if they want to get a +1 or try and create that free, it's not Nick Dacos. So again, I'm not talking hard tag, but an awareness that it's not to be Dacos who does it. If he goes into the middle of the ground, then I suppose you back your midfield formation and transition in against them and see how it's going. But you don't just let him have 35 off half-back and be creative.
No, I think they will discuss Merrick and Mark O'Connor as an option. If he's just accumulating and setting up play across half-back, can he go play that defensive forward role, definitely if he goes through the midfield. I think they would really look at moving Mark O'Connor into the midfield and playing a sort of tagging role on him, because I think too many times in the past they've let that sort of gun midfielder from the opposition team get off the leash, and the momentum's swung too much for the opposition team. So there'd be definitely some what if discussions if this happens or that happens. That's one thing that they'd look at doing.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone who sent their questions in. Really appreciate it. Chris Scott's just walking through the door, so we're going to take a break and talk with the Cats coach up next. Welcome back. It is great to have you with us on to the final bell. We are brought to you by Lake Imaging, and as promised, we've got him fresh off the training track. We've had the open training session here at GMHBA Stadium. The coach, Chris Scott, is with us. Scotty, great to see you.
Great to see you as always, Lingy and Domsy.
G'day, Scotty.
Yes, we've got lots and lots of hard-hitting questions coming your way. First of all, just on the season. The home and away season is done and dusted now. We move into the really exciting phase of September and the finals. Do you get a moment to just quickly reflect and go, gee, that was a good home and away season. We've set ourselves up really nicely.
I think it's a good way to live your life in general, not just your footy life, that every now and again it is possible to stop forecasting out into the future and just try to be in the moment a little bit. That moment for me, as much as anything, was pre the West Coast game. I popped up to the President's function about 40 minutes before the game, and Gil McLaughlin was there to present the trophy for the minor premiers. And the easy thing to do, and I think the cliched thing to do, is to say, well, okay, that's nice, but we're just focused on the next 4 to 5 weeks or whatever it is. But I think it is recognition for not just our team on field, but the whole kind of Geelong community, that these things are very, very hard to do. And we know it's not the pinnacle by any stretch. No one's suggesting that we haven't got more important things to focus on. But just for a brief moment, I think it's worth even stopping to recognise everyone else that's been a part of it.
Scotty, this year seems to have a different feel to it than other years. I know the team's finished in the top 4 a number of years, and we were both part of that. But it feels like it's got a genuine enthusiasm to it. The game style is attacking and exciting. What do you feel that sense around the boys at the moment downstairs? Is that how the coaches and players are feeling at the moment?
Look, it's a pretty good way of describing it. We're optimistic. That's the way we approached this season, even as far back as October. Let's focus on what's possible. Let's be optimistic around the things we're good at in particular, try to maximise them and deal with the impediments or obstacles as they come, rather than making them kind of front and centre, which sounds obvious, but when you've been close, I think one of the easy things for people to do is sort of focus on all the reasons why you haven't been able to take the next step. And if the answer is maybe in those years we just weren't quite good enough, that's not a very satisfactory answer for most people. So I find it difficult to compare, to be honest, with previous years, and I do think that it's a good way to live your life, to be in the moment, if not sort of looking ahead around what's possible. But our plan, if we had to sort of summarise it at the start of the year, was to give ourselves the very best chance, even if it meant some short-term sacrifices in terms of ladder position or winning a game here and there. So on that measure, I think we sit here in as good a shape as we could have hoped for. And again, while I don't really want to compare it to previous years, we don't have the problems that we did have in the last couple of years.
Just on you as a coach, you got the highest winning percentage. It's been said a few times, 72%, which is unbelievable. Looking over your coaching journey, you had 3 years at Freo. How do you make it look so easy? And is it that easy? Can you drill down into why 72% is unbelievable over 12 years? Like how going from 3 years as an assistant, not even doing. You look at Adam Kingsley. You spent 15 years. You just got recently appointed. You finished in 2007. Had 3 years as assistant. You're some sort of unicorn a little bit. I don't want to, but it is unbelievable. I know that you're going to talk about other people because that's what you like to do, the culture and all that type of thing. But it is a remarkable achievement.
Well, you're right, Doms. The most important thing, and the great Lee Matthews has said this before, great coaches are made by great players. And that is the most obvious thing. Without, I will go into the more complicated part a little bit, but it's just not possible without great players, great list management, great forward planning. I mean, it's a bit of a passion of mine as well. I think we have, over the last decade, taken a slightly contrarian view to that of the masses around list management. We spent a lot of time thinking through what free agency would mean for the game, what expansion would mean, the ability of clubs to rebuild, managing your TPP, that sort of stuff behind the scenes is so important. I would almost describe, this might be an oversimplification, but TPP management might be the biggest area of competitive advantage in the game. And it's a bit like, so if I come back to the coaching part, I do firmly believe that a great coach can take an average group of players and make them pretty good. But a really poor coach can take a great bunch of players and completely muck them up. And I think you've heard me say it. I think I said it to you guys directly at the end of 2010. I was so fortunate to come into a club that had great building blocks, great culture, and culture is really a product of people anyway. And we had a group of players through that period that were receptive to change. And stop me if you sort of disagree with any of this. Receptive to change, still really driven, and supportive of a young coach. Like, you can't. It's very rare that you come in as a new coach to an operation that fundamentally, let's say 90% of it doesn't need to be changed at all. So the new guy can focus on that 10% and get buy-in there, because generally a new coach comes in because things are broken. And you need to fix 90%.
It is a massive role, though, the senior coach of an AFL club, and an all-consuming role as well. And we've seen, unfortunately, with what's happened with Ben Rutten most recently, others haven't handled it that well. Some the club hasn't looked after them well. All these different examples. Do you still love it? Is it? I imagine match day, the competitive streak in you loves that. The ability to turn off, the ability to work with young men and get the best out of them, all the different elements that you love versus the different elements maybe you hate a little bit. Is it fun, or is it only fun in September when you're right there when the whips are cracking? How do you describe the fulfilment of being a senior coach?
It is difficult for me to describe, because it's just not true to say that it's all fun and I love every minute of it. I've got to say, the first year that I came in, it took me a while to actually think. It was daunting, so that part, and I think when you've been a competitor, you're kind of used to that nervousness, the anxiety that comes with doing something special, but you embrace it. It's like, well, I'm feeling anxious because there's the possibility of something really good about to happen. So I'm not going to say it wasn't daunting, but winning the first 13 games in a row was pretty handy in terms of, your happiness outside of being at the footy club. But, I mean, I've had my moments over the journey, there's no doubt about that. Sometimes I've maybe been a little bit too honest about how I've felt about it, because there is, I defy anyone who's been in the position for a decent period of time to argue against the fact that you have a love-hate relationship with it. But that's the price you've got to pay. I've come to terms with that a lot more. It's the price of admission. You need to accept that there are going to be horrible moments where life sucks, but that's the price you've got to pay to give yourself a chance for that exhilaration. And we do operate in a brutal industry where that you only ever feel that true exhilaration if you win it. Like, otherwise, you've lost the last game, and it is a big risk. I know I sit here full well knowing exactly how I'm going to feel if we lose our last game, and it's something I wouldn't wish upon anyone. But having said that, like, to give yourself one chance to win it, it's worth it.
It's worth it. And that the little other wins along the way is the most fun sometimes. Sam de Koning or Tom Atkins going into the midfield, or this kid that you give another opportunity to, Tyson Stengel, who may well be All-Australian this year and play a big part in the premiership. Are they the magic moments throughout the year?
100%. So I just completely disagree with this notion that, say, Paddy Dangerfield will be somehow marked down if he doesn't win a premiership. Like, you can actually hold the two ideas in your head at one time. That it would be great as a capstone kind of moment for him to be a premiership player, but also that if he didn't, it doesn't diminish kind of who he has been for our footy club. Again, no one should interpret that as a lack of desire. You can still be sort of classy in defeat and come back the next year as sort of driven as ever. But you're right with those little moments. Like, it is just, and that's, I think that's a lesson that we try to instill in our players. And you guys helped me with this when I first started. It's not just about the premierships. It's about enjoying the little moments when they come along. And those things, I'd say Tyson Stengel, let's isolate it to him. Oh, let's use Sam de Koning as well. So that, when you see them play well, that's not on Wednesday we decided we're going to give those guys a go and they happen to play well on the weekend. There's years of planning that goes into that stuff and behind the scenes work and, you know, risk that comes with it as well. Like I think as a footy club, I'm proud of the fact that we've actually been able to accept the risk that comes with some of the decisions we've made. Because you know that, again, I mentioned we've been a little bit contrarian. You know the narrative, it doesn't work. Like even going back to October, like we needed to be strong enough to accept that if it didn't work for us, we just would have been old and slow. And you know, if it does work, it's just because you're experienced. Like it's just the rewriting of history after the fact is just not something we should concern ourselves with. We should be in that moment of, wow, you know, Tyson Stengel coming through and like forget about his footy just for a second. Like Tyson Stengel's life now compared to 12 months ago is exponentially better. And so, yeah, that makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up as much as sort of talking about what we've got in front of us the next 4 weeks.
Well, just on another player you mentioned before, I just want to get your thoughts on Sam de Koning a bit more because a big key defender doing a job.
Always locking in.
Big key defender doing a job on the big stage. They're hard to come by, Lingy. Scotty. Like 21 years of age. How impressive has he been? And obviously the next 3 to 4 weeks is so important, that his role in the team. But, I mean, I'm watching him from the stands and just going, wow, his development. I didn't see him his first year in the footy club, but can you talk to us about Sam and how far he's come?
Yeah, well, I don't think many people saw him because he, as much as anyone on our list, kind of exemplifies the challenges for guys. It's been hard for the guys in the AFL team, but it's been harder for the guys outside of that team through the COVID period. They haven't had, you know, a strong VFL system to push their case. We've been displaced. It's been a really unfortunate way for a lot of those guys to start their footy journey. And even, you know, we didn't start the pre-season thinking, right, Sam's our guy. We're just going to push him forward and play him no matter what. He had a fair way to go even through the pre-season. And I'm going to say we all had slightly different views on it, and I think we remember it slightly differently too. But even 3 weeks before round one, it wasn't a certainty that we were going to play him. In the end, he played and played really well. But what's happened since then has just been extraordinary, really. I've got a bit of a view that young key position players take time. There aren't many spots in the team for them. It's not like you draft an inside mid, and if it's not quite working for him, you can put him out in a wing or you can put him back. There's only a couple of spots for key forwards or key defenders, and young key defenders, they get the extra carrot, if you like, that they go and play on generally big, mature, experienced key forwards. It's hard to displace Tom Hawkins from the team. And Sam's capacity to not only play on those guys, but play the way that he plays best. And sort of goes back to the idea that we talked about at the start of the pre-season. It's like, we don't want to make you a carbon copy of Tom Lonergan, even though I loved him. You are, you know, the 204 centimetre key defender, and you might have a few deficiencies in your game at 19 or 20, and we'll work on them, but let's maximise what you're really good at. And so for the next month, I would assume, like the rest of us, he's not going to be perfect the whole time. But what we're asking from him is, at the very least, if he goes down, go down your way and play your game. Let's not all of a sudden think that now we're in a final series and you need to find something different, or you need to play it a different way. It's a cliche that finals are different. We know they are because there's consequences that are much higher than in season. You're playing the best teams. You know, the pressure goes up and all. So all that sort of stuff's real. But what should your response be? I don't think it is to go away from what's made him a really important player this year.
One of the most special elements about what he does is back himself in. I mean, it's been remarkable. We're playing on the best player and then still I can mark the footy. I'm going to mark the footy. He's been outstanding. You've been very, very generous with your time, Scotty, because I know it's a big week. That open training session's still happening right now. The players are out there signing, which is brilliant to see so many Cats fans. It's the week off. It's a huge Saturday game the following week against the Pies. Good luck for that. Good luck for the next month. Can't wait to maybe get you back on as Premiership coach again at the end of the season. That would be very nice.
Well, you two guys know that you can get me whenever you want. Like, you know, I owe you a lot more than you owe me. But I will just use this last opportunity just to implore the Cats fans to get to the MCG. We're going to be outnumbered. We understand that. But, you know, if you're on the fence even a little bit, you know, every extra Cat supporter that we can get into the crowd is going to make a difference. And this is, in part, our way. We shouldn't think of this as a transactional thing. But the last 2.5, 3 years have been really weird for us all. I've said this a few times publicly, but if I'm only speaking to a couple of people that haven't heard it, we're on our knees as a footy club and the competition was potentially on its knees as well. And the irrational way that our members and supporters stuck behind us, knowing that they weren't going to get anything back from it in the short term, is something we'll never forget. So we don't need more motivation to give it our best effort, but all the players do have, and coaches, football staff, in the back of their mind that we wouldn't be here without the Cats supporters. So we're going to represent them with everything we've got.
Well said. Let's get along there, Cats fans. You'll be happy to know I made Nicole sit on the internet for about 2 hours yesterday buying the tickets for me, her and the kids. Just because I don't know my way around too many websites there, Scotty. I'm not great at the IT stuff.
No, it's a good rule for life, that one. Delegate to those smarter than you.
Yes, exactly right. Thank you so much for joining us. All the best. Thanks, Scotty.
Good on you guys.
I really appreciate grabbing Chris Scott just quickly. He's come straight off the training track. He's heading back down there now. Still a heap of fans here at the ground for the open training session. The boys are all up against the fence, signing autographs, all the selfies, everything like that. So
they're excited, Lee. They're
fantastic atmosphere, Domsy. Hey, we better finish up.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us again, Domsy. You'll have enough to do this weekend again with AFLW, there's local footy. I think there's...
Falcons are playing too.
Falcons are playing. Who they got?
Western Jets in a wildcard game. So we head over to Mars Stadium, Ballarat. So it's an elimination game for the Falcon boys. So
good luck to the Falcons boys. So still plenty of footy going on this weekend. As I mentioned earlier, head down here on Sunday and watch the Cats taking on the Tigers in the AFLW. Or if you feel like a road trip, go up and cheers the Falcons crew on there as well. We'll be back next week as we build up towards that massive qualifying final against Collingwood. I've got my seats, Domsy. I'm happy.
You ready to go?
Domsy's
booked them.
I think I might be in the back row of the furthest stand, like either the Olympic or Northern, whatever it's called, the very back row.
So this is how out of form you are with IT. You actually get 2 free tickets as a 200-game player, mate.
Yeah.
You could have went and...
I know that, but I've promised my kids I needed a group of 5 tickets together.
Right, yeah.
So I gave up my 2 free 200 club ones to sit
Gave them up, did you?
in the back row with the kids.
Chance?
No, they are non-transferable,
Yes.
Domsy.
Yeah, they are.
Remember
Yes.
that? Somewhere in the fine print.
Yes.
Great to see you, Domsy. We get you again
You
next
too,
week.
mate.
Can we somehow convince you to
Yes.
stay around for finals?
I'll be here.
Come on, this is exciting.
We'll get a video from Scotty from IB. He might come back. But no, look forward to it, Ling. He'll be good.
If his doggies are knocked out week 1 of finals, he definitely won't come back.
No. He'll be up and about if they do. They could get on a roll. Who knows?
Who knows? But we will be back next week. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for your questions. We'll chat to you again very, very soon.